so serious. We're gonna have fun tonight. I'm kidding. Look at this. I've already ruined the sweater. Is there any knitters here? Yeah, I already ripped it. Reading from the Book of Webster. Yarn. 1. Noun, any spun thread, wool, flax, silk, cotton, etc. Prepared for weaving, knitting, rope making, etc. A long continuous strand of glass, paper, plastic, metal. Hope no one's knitting me a metal sweater. Or a long, often exaggerated tale of adventure, especially told by a seaman or traveler to spin a yarn, to tell a long tale of untrue adventures, or to make up a long, rambling excuse. The last two are where I come in tonight's show, everybody. The real serious stuff and beautiful stuff will, of course, be done by my partner. We're really happy to have you all here tonight for the Yarns of Life. Bienvenue, mesdames et messieurs, pour le soirée, le spectacle ce soir de Le Fil de la Vie. And we're really happy about it because it's going to be something very interesting and different. We're going to talk about the roles of women in different situations, such as family circumstance, war, social anxiety, and through it all, how the love of knitting for themselves or for others empowers, soothes, relieves, calms these women through all of these situations, and how it really impacts themselves and their loved ones during their lives. And we really hope that you enjoy this show tonight. Mesdames et messieurs, ça me donne grand plaisir de vous présenter le créateur et chorégraphe de Le Fil de la Vie. It gives me great pleasure. Please help me welcome to the stage the creator and choreographer of the Yarns of Life, it's Jessica Cumberbirch.
Merci beaucoup d'être ici avec Brian et moi ce soir. On est tellement excités à propos de ce projet. C'est notre premier ce soir. So you guys are at our premiere, our first show ever. So we're very excited. Thank you to all of you for being here with us. Alors, merci beaucoup à tout le monde d'être ici avec nous. Alors, la première partie, je vais expliquer parce que c'est très personnel. La première danse, il y a deux parties de la première danse. Et la première partie, c'est à propos de mon grand-père, il s'appelait Fred Durand, il était écossais. Et il est maintenant décédé. Il était quelqu'un qui était très important dans ma vie. Il était daltonien. Alors lui, il voyait juste la jaune et un peu bleu, comme le spectrum de jaune et bleu. Alors toutes les choses que j'ai tricotées pour lui, c'était en jaune et bleu. Des fois, il portait plusieurs choses en même temps. Alors je trouvais ça très, très gentil. Et la deuxième partie, c'est à propos de mon mari Eric. Ça fait 15 ans que nous sommes mariés ensemble et je vais danser avec la première chandelle que j'ai tricotée pour lui et c'est comme une danse d'amour pour lui. So just to explain quickly in English, so I'm introducing the first part, Brian's going to be doing the rest because it is very personal. So the first story is dances about my grandfather, Fred Durand. He was Scottish, he's passed away now, but he was colorblind, so he could see yellow. This was his favorite yellow. The brighter, the better, like, oh, that's a great yellow. So I make him everything yellow. He could see yellows and blues, but he couldn't see other colors. And he'd often wear 2 or 3 sweaters, like hats, scarves, sweaters, that I'd knit for him at the same time. So he was a big fan of my knitting. So it's a tribute to in his memory. And then the second part is about my husband, Eric. We've been married 15 years, and I'll be dancing with the first sweater I ever knit him, and it's just like a tribute of love to him. So I hope you enjoy the show.
Social anxiety, nervousness, phobias. We all have them, or we had them. Or we know somebody who has had them. And unfortunately, it can be pretty debilitating and things you gotta work through. And it can be tough. But sometimes you find through knitting that it calms you, it soothes you, it allows you to go to another place, get your mind right, like any kind of meditation or any other kind of hobby that you sink yourself into really does. And here's a story of one of those girls. She hops on the bus, 4th and Main. It's a long way downtown, but her mind is made. She takes out her knitting as she sits down, and as the needles click, she gets lost in the sound, lost in the crowd. Into the small downtown cafe that she's always wanted to go into, but not today. You see, she's made a promise to herself. She's knitting herself up the courage. Once that sweater's finished, then she'll put her fears on the shelf. 'Cause one step forward is all it'll take, and she's praying for the change that may make. If she puts on that wool sweater, that's all it'll take. It's not just a sweater, it's her cape. So on this cold November day, she finds herself outside that same cafe. In her bag there's needles and there's yarn that nimbly spun the sweater she has on. She sits down and orders a latte, safely inside her sweater's embrace. Strangers no longer seem so strange. She sees them in herself. Slowly her fears slip away. 'Cause one step forward is all it takes. She's grateful for the change that this may make. On that wool sweater, yeah, that's all it'll take. 'Cause it's not just a sweater, it's her cape. There's a man behind a briefcase, and a girl's phone covers her face. Looking around, she comes to realize that every person's sweater comes in all shapes and sizes. She pulls her sweater sleeves further down to hide the fact that she's shaking.
My God, she's shaking. She knows that she's shaking, but oh, she's proud. The one step forward was all it takes, and she's grateful for the change that it has made. She throws her sweater on the sofa, yeah, but just for today. So it's never just a sweater, each stitch stronger, better, and every superwoman needs her cape.
The guitars are getting smaller as the night goes on. You should see the next one. I look huge. But, war. Unfortunately, we're seeing way too much of it nowadays. What a biggest test of a mother's love. You go from a world where everything is fine. You have family, you're comforted, you're cocooned in that family. And then it's torn apart, and then you have to deal with strife, and you have to deal with the ugliness and the anger and the hatred. But then you have to go back afterwards and start over and realize that, you know, we can be whole again. And sometimes it's as simple as knitting a sweater, keeping your children warm, safe. The strongest love of all is a mother's love. Oh dear girls, we're going to war. That's what the papers say. But I pray that they must be wrong. For a world so bright and gay. So hide your jewels and your rings. Turn your sweaters out inside. For there's nowhere left to run. So who we are is what we'll hide. But if you must, you'll have to fight. Though you've been raised to do no harm. Say now how to seek you out. From the band placed on your arm. So now you know you must be strong. Show no fear behind your eyes. Though they have been taught to hate you, they don't know the reason why. Don't let hate harden your heart. Let the love that's in your soul light the path to lead your lives. Like a sweater keep you from the cold. May you learn to turn the page. Become mothers, lovers, wives. Don't forget who you once were. For the rest of your lives. Don't forget who you once were. For the rest of your sweet lives. I figured Jess is bringing all these beautiful sweaters with all these beautiful dances. I just wanted to contribute a little to the theme tonight. And this sweater that is barely holding on, I've been holding on to for about 40 years. And like me, you know, it's a little frayed, falling apart, pieces are missing, but that's what happens when you get to be 30 years old. What's so funny? I'll let you have that one. But it was, you're lucky to see it, because my wife and I had a treaty for years that this sweater is only allowed past the front door to rake leaves, sweep the patio, and for some reason she keeps on asking me to light the barbecue. And I can't figure out for the life of me what she's meaning by that, but it really was my Uncle Cecil's fishing sweater. And his wife Helen knit it for him many years ago, and then when I became a man, he gave that to me when I was about 20. And putting it on instantly just takes you right back to a place, a time, a person, where, you know, right away I think of being out there lobster and fishing with him back in Cape Breton, and it's incredible how we've been portraying sweaters and knitting and how it brings people together in ways maybe people don't even know. But you put on a garment, and it's not just a garment, right? It's a tie to you, it's a tie to your past, it's a tie to the loved ones that you have. So this will be the last number of the night, and it is called, surprisingly, The Yarns of Life. Now I know we have some singers here. So anybody who knows the words to the intro to this song, please feel free to sing along. Baba, black sheep, have you any wool? Yes sir, 3 bags full. One for the master, one for the dame, one for the little boy who lives down the lane. No nursery rhymes and lullabies tend to fade from our adult lives. Doesn't mean there's no stories left to tell. From old to young we pass down tales, memories and vague details of lessons learned from laughter and from strife. These yarns of life, favorite sweaters that are old and frayed but comfort us in every way. Familiar patterns tend to point to where we're from. Stories that have been passed down from rocking chairs or tables round are spun into the fabric of our lives. Yarns of life, knitting needles click away like old typewriter keys, weaving a tapestry of love and family that we can wear proudly on our chests. Know that within these strands we are blessed. Though nursery rhymes and lullabies sleep behind our children's eyes, the stories we're passed down, please wear them well. Memories that we hold tight and will keep us warm throughout the night are spun into the fabric of our lives. These
these yarns of life. Yeah, these yarns of life. Papa, black sheep, have you any wool?
Thank you all so much for being here with us. I hope you've enjoyed the show so far. This last part I'm going to be introducing because it's very personal to me. J'ai demandé à des personnes d'enregistrer leur voix en train de parler du tricot. Ça peut être un mémoire, qu'est-ce que le tricot et qu'est-ce que ça signifie pour quelqu'un. Alors moi je vais danser sur leurs mots, alors ça m'a touché beaucoup que les gens aient fait ça pour moi. So this last part is really personal. I'd ask people to send me recordings about their experiences with knitting or a memory or something like that. And I'm actually going to be dancing to them. Eileen wrote the most beautiful poem, which will be at the very end. You'll be in tears. So thank you, I hope you enjoy it.
I don't think I can remember Mom not knitting. I think she knitted before I was born, so I'm just used to the clickety-clack of my mom's knitting needles. Usually sitting down with a cup of coffee and a cigarette smoldering in an ashtray. That's what I remember. But her sweaters were absolutely fabulous. She was a really wonderful knitter. And I have a lot of happy memories around knitting.
Tricoter est une activité pratiquée par ma famille depuis plusieurs générations. Je me souviens des tricots que ma grand-mère maternelle m'offrait lorsque j'étais jeune enfant. Ma mère a commencé à tricoter à l'âge de 4 ans. Après avoir pris sa retraite, elle a confectionné une multitude de vêtements pour moi et mes 2 garçons, des accessoires, des couvertures. Et la voilà, à l'âge de 93 ans, elle tricote toujours. À l'automne 2022, je me suis remise au tricot après un arrêt d'une 40aine d'années, le temps d'une vie professionnelle et familiale. Mon conjoint étant à l'extérieur pour son travail, semaine après semaine, je trouvais les soirées longues. Je me suis alors replongée dans le tricot et voilà que je suis devenue passionnée. Ce passe-temps me permet d'être productive et je suis fière d'offrir mes œuvres à mes proches bien-aimés.
One of the things that has always surprised me about knitting is when you go somewhere where there are a lot of knitters, for example, at a knitting convention or an exhibit or an event, there's such a sense of community. And I always marvel at how knitting brings people together through a common thing, through a hobby, and then you get to know each other and you develop a sense of belonging. Knitters understand each other, and I think we knit because we have to, not because we want. Well, because we have to, because we want to.
As a child, I loved to watch my mother knit every night while she would watch television. My cat Frisky would try to get the ball of wool away from her, and it really is a fond memory that makes me smile. And now that my mother's been gone for many, many years, I still hold on to those mitts that she made me, and I cherish them because I know she knitted them out of love for her family, and it kept us warm and it kept us cozy. And to me, that's something, that's such a wonderful memory.
So I started learning how to knit when I think I was about 5. My grandmothers taught me. Both my grandmothers were great knitters. They lived in BC and I lived in Ottawa. So it was really very sporadic that I'd actually get to work with them. So I started making leg warmers and they had a million holes in them because every time I'd make a mistake, I didn't have anyone to help me. So I'd have to wait 8 or 9 months so to fix it. So I had these leg warmers that were very, very full of holes, but I loved it. I loved the fact that I could undo and redo once I learned how to do things, that you had so many different textures, colors. And when you're knitting, I always like to knit for people, and you really think about that person while you're knitting. So it's really reliving the memories, your experiences, your relationship. And sometimes it can take like 40, 50, 60 hours, sometimes even 100 for me, depending on what I'm doing, if it's a really complex sweater or a big blanket or something like that. So I find knitting is a real intimate experience. We share with someone all that time, all of our thoughts. And if you're given a gift of a sweater or a scarf, it's precious. That person has really put their part of themselves into it. And I'm always so touched when I receive something that's been knit by someone, that they took all that time and that they thought of me. And I love to think of the person I'm knitting for and the love I have for them, or the friendship. So it's a really beautiful, beautiful thing to knit. And I find it's a big part of my life. And I've done it since I was 5, so a good 40 years. And I will always knit. And I really recommend to go there and try it. And it's so much fun because you can always undo it. So if ever you make a mistake, don't be shy. Start over, and you can create something new.
So here's the story of why I love knitting. It's a meditation to me. When I'm knitting, all I think of is how many stitches I have on my needle, how many are putting on there. All I do is count, 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 count. So you can get lost in just counting the number of stitches. Nothing else matters when I'm doing that. I worry that at some point I have 50 projects and stashed away in my stash, and I may never get to finish them all. I hope I do before my life ends. And if there's a heaven, I hope that there's a limitless a limitless knitting store for me. It is the best thing in the world as far as I'm concerned. One of the best pleasures in life. I love, love, love knitting.
When I was a little girl, we always used to receive knitted sweaters from our Aunt Peg from Scotland, and we never met her. We never really knew who she was, but every year she would knit us these wonderful wool, kind of scratchy wool sweaters. But the problem was that sleeves were always another foot too long, and it was always the same. They always came with these great long arms, and we'd roll them up and roll them up, and then we'd sit and write our thank you letters and tell her they fit perfectly.
I was bound by knitting before I was born. My father was a soldier with a Red Cross on his arm, who tried to save lives in a land war-torn. From Juno Beach into the trenches, through the bullets and battles of savage sin, till he fell on a bridge outside of Berlin. In a bed he laid, his body splintered and splayed, till one day an angel of mercy came to sit with needles and wool and teach my father to knit. The months passed by and winter turned to spring, and my father began so slow to stitch his body whole, to heal his heart and save his soul. At a faraway window my grandmother stayed, as time ticked and her needles clicked. Bring my son home, she willed and prayed, stitch by stitch, one by one, till at last God smiled and let him come. The years pass by and I am born, and run to kneel at my grandmother's knee, and she smiles as she knits and tenderly teaches me. Big needles in my little fingers as they struggle and strive, but day by day these fingers grow and thrive, and I laugh out with joy as my knitting comes alive. Socks for my father, a shawl for my mother, and bunting blankets for my wee baby boys. Booties and bibs and toques and tees, all for my little grandchildren sitting on my knees. The strands of life spinning themselves together, unraveling, then spiraling around themselves again in an endless dance of harmony and war and harmony once more. And my father smiles down upon me and scoops me in his arms as timelessly he places me at my grandmother's knee. And I listen to her needles sing and to my little babies cling, knowing that we are all bound together in the yarns of life that last forever.